Let's see what's cooking. It's time for Yo-Yo Makes 12.
Hi everybody, today we're doing cobblestone coconut brownies. Now I'm going to call these a semi-fail, mostly because of what I did, not because of the recipe that isn't good. I kind of went against what I normally do. I always usually try to make the recipe exactly as it's written, and then if I want to modify it, I modify it afterwards. In this particular case, the problem I had was the fudge brownie mix that I bought only made an 8x8 inch, and the recipe calls by 13x9 inch brownie size. Therefore, I tried to half the recipe, and I don't think that worked out quite as well as it should. Plus, I forgot to turn on my camera right away, and you usually know when if it doesn't start off well, it's not going to end well. Anyhow, in a bowl, I put the brownie mix, 1 egg, and some imitation coconut extract, 1 teaspoon. And I also added 1/4 cup of canola oil. Now, these are all half ingredients. The full recipe is the recipe I suggest you follow, is the one in the description box. But I'm going to continue showing you the half recipe. Now, basically it says to beat the brownie mix, oil and eggs and extract on medium speed until blended. It says the batter will be stiff. Now, this was more than stiff. This was super dry. Now, I think the problem here was that I'm halving the recipe, like putting half the eggs, half the oil, and so on. But the brownie mix is not half of a 9x13 mix. It's an 8x8, which is probably a little bit more than half. So I would have needed a little bit more than half of the wet ingredients in there, like 2 eggs or like 1½ eggs or something like that. So what I decided to do here was to try to salvage this, is to add a little bit of water. Yeah, I gave up on it there. So I transferred the batter into a large mixing bowl, and I thought I'd mix it with some beaters to see if it made a difference. And it was still dry and crumbly. There's no way that that's a batter. That's a crumble. So I added a little bit of water, and I continued to add water to about another 1/3 cup of water until I got a brownie batter that was maybe a little bit stiffer than it normally would. And I imagine that's what they were trying to get at when they were saying a stiff batter. And I prepared an 8x8 inch baking dish in the background there by spraying it with cooking spray. Probably been better off with an 8x10, and you'll see why. Then you're going to take 1 cup of that batter and set it aside, because that's going to be like a topping. So then you're going to spread this into the bottom of the 8x8 inch baking dish. Then you're going to bake this part at 350 degrees for 10 to 15 minutes until the edges crack. Now, the brownie itself is not going to be done. It's just going to have a little bit of cracked edges. Now, while that's baking, you can prepare the filling part of it. And that is half a recipe once again, which is an egg, 4 ounces of cream cheese, half a teaspoon of coconut extract, and half a teaspoon of vanilla extract. And then beat those together. And then I'm adding half of 3 3/4 cups of confectioner sugar, which is 1½ plus 1/4 plus 1/8. So I'm not very good with fractions, so I had to split it up that way. But half of 3 3/4 cup. And you're going to add that in gradually and beat it in so you get a nice smooth batter. And the reason you put it in a little at a time is to avoid the powdered sugar flying all over the place like it is right here. And then add 1/2 cup of flaked coconut. I'm using sweetened coconut. It didn't specify. I don't think it matters too much. If you like it a little bit sweeter, add sweet coconut. If you want it a little bit less sweet, then add unsweetened coconut. And then fold that in. Now there's the brownie that had been baking until the edges were cracked. So it's still not done in the center. And then pour the batter over top, the cream cheese batter with the coconut. Spread it to the edges. And then you're going to take the reserved brownie batter that you took out, and you're going to just drop it on top by teaspoonfuls. And this is where the cobblestone part of the cobblestone brownies comes from, because once it bakes up, it'll look like an old-fashioned cobblestone road in a way. So you bake this at 350 degrees for 45 to 50 minutes. That's 50 minutes. It takes a long time until the toothpick in the center comes out clean. Now these tasted very good. They were super moist inside. They were a little bit too thick and they were hard to cut. That's why I think it'd be better in a bigger pan. I think that if I would have done this using a 9 by 13 inch size brownie mix, it would have been super fantastic. It was very good and they certainly did get eaten. None of it was thrown out. If any of you try this recipe with the right size of brownie mix, let me know.